made it.
Hi, Danny.
Hello.
Oh my gosh, how are you?
Good.
I like your snazzy hat.
Thank you. I'm pretty snazzy.
You are the snazziest.
You
How's it going so far here at Supercon?
It's super. I love cons because I love to get to meet the people that I talk to online all year, and then you finally get to meet them face to face. It's really fun.
Yeah. Well, speaking of meetings, so this is my life coming full circle right now, Danny. I've known Danny since I think we were trying to figure it out, like 11 or 12 years old, was
Probably
it?
11. Yeah.
I was very young, and now I get to be your moderator
We did a musical and a play together when she was a baby.
when I was when I still had like normal colored hair.
Yeah.
And you look exactly the same, except you didn't have the beard or the mustache then. You had.
I think you had this on your head.
Yeah, very close. Not the beard, no. But yeah, this is really neat to have this opportunity.
This is it, you guys. Thanks for coming.
And you, originally from New York, now here you are, South Florida. You went to a school down in South Florida.
I moved to South Florida when I was 7, so I'm from Fort Lauderdale. I'm from West Broward. I'm actually from Sunrise. And then now my family lives in Tamarack and in Sunrise. Yeah, and in Pompano and Deerfield. I have a lot of family here. My whole family's here.
Are they like coming to the convention?
Yeah, they are. They're going to come this weekend. And then on the 18th, I am headlining, I do stand-up comedy, and I'm headlining the Pride Comedy Festival at Art Serve in Fort Lauderdale. So you guys come out to my comedy show.
Do it. And it's called
Yeah, my tour is called Yas, You're Amazing.
Do you have to say, like, can you teach us how to say it like that?
Well,
okay, go
everyone
ahead.
knows Yas,
Yas.
right? And the other part's like, amazing. Think of like 3 E's instead of an A. It's like, amazing.
Amazing.
And I call it that because everybody always says that everything's amazing. It's so amazing to meet you. Let's go to brunch. The avocado toast is amazing. I was sick, but my doctor's amazing, and I feel amazing. And I had surgery, and the scar's healing amazing. And it's like, everything's amazing. Not everything's amazing, but you guys are amazing. So that's why it's Yas, You're Amazing.
That's cute. I like that.
My mom brought it to my attention. I have an Italian mom from Brooklyn. And when she came out to LA to visit me, because I live in LA now, they were like, this is your mom? That's amazing. That a mom hangs out with her son, that's amazing. And you're going to Disneyland, that's amazing. And my mom was like, why does everybody say everything's amazing? And I'm like, well, you're from Brooklyn, you just say everything's phenomenal. And she's like, you're right, that's amazing. So ever since then, I can't unhear it. Like, you'll hear it now. Someone's gonna be like, how was Supercon? And you're gonna be like, it was incredible. You're gonna like catch yourself. So it's an epidemic. We have to make people stop saying amazing.
Well, let's talk more about your mom, because you
Sure.
did have a web series that you did with your mom. Is that correct?
Yes. I have a series on YouTube called Shit Italian Moms Say, where I play my mom. And I'm proud to announce officially for the first time at Supercon that there will be Italian mom dolls coming out next year in Hot Topic and Urban Outfitter and Spencer's and Oz. So it's like really cool. It's gonna be like an Italian mom doll that does all the phrases. And I'm working on trying to do an animated series to accompany that. So
That's amazing.
it's amazing. It's a phenomenal.
Oh my God, Danny, that's so exciting.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, I guess, I was like, well, I'm a chubby queer kid. I'm probably not going to be an action figure. I might as well be my mom in drag and plush. So it's like the closest I'll get. I should have been a Funko Pop, but whatever. We won't go there. But
You could be.
I did have fans make me one.
Yeah.
I have a fan-made Funko Pop of Damien from Mean Girls, so that's pretty cool. I think they used like Muller's glasses and like the hoodie from South Park. I'm kidding.
Whatever you have to do, whatever
Paint
works.
it baby blue.
That's
Make
awesome.
yourself an at-home Damien.
Well, since you mentioned Damien, what was the audition process like? Was there even an audition when you were going out for this role?
Yes, there was this casting director in New York City called Susan Shopmaker. She cast me in Party Monster and in like a Verizon commercial or something. And so I knew her really well. And then are you like, who is he in Party Monster? Is
I
that your
know.
face? I was the rat in Party Monster at the end, and then I'm also the MC in Dallas in Party Monster. And if you listen really carefully, I'm also the cop. You only hear a line, but I'm also the cop that picks up Marilyn Manson when he's like drunk on the ground to go into the disco party. This is like one of those rooms you could have that conversation. People are like, totally get what you're saying. So I had auditioned for her bunch. She liked me. She knew I was cool and queer and whatever. And so she called me in for Damien, and I hadn't met Tina Fey before. But Tina Fey was in the waiting room, and Amanda Seyfried, who played Karen Smith in Mean Girls, was auditioning for Regina. And so she had 2 shirts. She had like a maroon shirt and a tan shirt. And she was like, which one should I wear for my screen test? And I was like, I'd go with the Merlot. Like, and then Tina like whipped her head behind and she was like, oh. And I was like, I just want to say I think you're fabulous and what you do for women in comedy is amazing. And whatever, I was just like, talking to her, and she's like, oh, thank you, I like you. And then Amanda did her audition, and then they called me in, and when I came in, Tina was like, you? I thought you just work here. Oh, now I'm excited. I like, and I was like, it was like the best way to start the audition. And so, according to the E! True Hollywood story, my audition was horrible. I don't really remember it like that, but but they liked me a lot. And so, like 2 months later, I forgot about it. It was the funniest script I ever read, I should say. It was hysterical. And then two months after that, I got a phone call, and on a Sunday, and they were like, on Monday morning, we're gonna fly Daniel to Los Angeles, and he's gonna go have dinner with the cast of Mean Girls, and then he's gonna go and do the table read, but he doesn't have the part yet. We think he's too old, because I was playing 16 and I was 26. So I was like, okay. And then, so I flew out there in the morning. I got picked up in a limousine with Rachel McAdams and Amanda Seyfried, and we went through like the gates of Paramount, and I was like, and then all the parts in the movie that were played by Toronto players, like Coach Carr and the secretary, were all played by famous SNL people who were like doing a favor for like Tina and Lauren Michaels. So it's like Kevin Nealon and all these like amazing people were at the table read, and then I was like, I'm gonna get this part. And the fun trivia part about Mean Girls is the original Aaron Samuels, the guy who played Aaron Samuels in the movie, Jonathan Bennett, wasn't who they originally cast. They cast another famous actor who I will not say his name, but he was sitting
What does it rhyme with?
I won't say.
Okay.
He was sitting next to me, and they were like, you really should, like, he didn't shave, and he's playing 16, and they were like, you really should take your hat off, and he's like, I'm good. And he had like a big Starbucks, and he was acting all cool, and they're like, no, really, like, you should try a little. Like, he's like, I'm fine. And I was still trying to get the part, so I like blazed through that script. Like, I gave it my all, like my full 100% Daniel Franzese stank on it. And I was trying to find the executive in the room that thought I was too old, and I was smiling at her, and I shaved really good, like looked really great, and they ended up firing him.
Oh.
So we got to the airport, and they were like, you got the part. I found out a week later I got the part. It's actually really funny because I was staying at Rachel Lee, she's gonna be here, but I was staying at Rachel Lee Cook's house, because her and I were friends and we did a movie, and I didn't really know a lot of people in LA, so I was staying at Rachel Lee Cook's guest house when I got the part. And then, and it's so funny because in the autograph alley, the back curtain of my thing is the back curtain of hers. So it's just kind of funny. But I was staying with Rachel and her husband Daniel, and then they told me I got the part, and they flew me straight to Toronto, and at the airport there was a new Aaron Samuels. And we were like, oh, I guess that's okay. We were like, who are you playing? And he's like, I'm playing Aaron Samuels. And I'm like, I don't really think you are. Like trying to figure it out. And then we wormed our way into like the American Airlines Admirals Club and got drunk and hung out and became friends right away. And then landed in Toronto to film.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
It was kind of a crazy whirlwind audition process. That's the short answer.
Sure, no, I'll take it.
You guys are here for the stories. You want to know the tea. I'm here to spill the tea.
Yes.
Right?
Did you guys know, like, when you were filming this movie, that it was going to be this monumental cult phenomenon?
Low key. Like, at first I was like, this is really good. But then SNL hadn't really made movies like, I mean, they had done that at the Roxbury and Coneheads, but they haven't done anything that had that kind of a social impact. But I loved all the movies that they made. Superstar, like, it's so good. You're horrible! Like all this, like love that movie. But it wasn't, and they did The Hot Chick, and Rachel McAdams was in The Hot Chick, and I was like, we're kind of making The Hot Chick. That's what I thought we were doing. Like, I mean, The Hot Chick's a great movie, but it doesn't have the staying power that Mean Girls ended up having. We didn't foresee that. You always hope, but we were like, we're making The Hot Chick, and we're cool with that. Like, that's what we thought we were doing, so. And a lot of us don't, work in a lot of the same scenes together and stuff too. So I had never seen Rachel McAdams play Regina, except when she was like really far away being carried on people's shoulders, like in the field, like we kind of shot in order of the movie. So I didn't spend a lot of time with Rachel, and I didn't know what her performance was going to be like, and as brilliant as it is, and all of that stuff. So piecing it together was a little hard. But the first time I saw the movie, I was like, this is really good, isn't it? It's not just me, like this is really good, right? And Lauren Michaels had like a straight face, and I'm like, you don't look excited, are you excited? And Tina was like, that's what he looks like when he's excited. I was like, okay. So I guess. And then I knew it was gonna be a big hit a week before the movie came out. a radio station in New York City asked me to shoot like a t-shirt cannon out in the audience and be like, hey guys, I'm in this movie, I hope you like it, here's a t-shirt. You know, like, and
we have a t-shirt cannon here today.
no, I wish. But nobody knew who I was or cared, you know. I had only done Bully and Party Monster at that time, so the kids in the audience didn't really see those movies. And then after the movie though, I was like, oh, I wonder if they liked it. And the doors opened and the kids were like, ah! They're like, I was Justin Bieber. And I was like, what's happening? I was like stepping on children and like to run to my car. And I did that for a week and I'm like, this is going to be a phenomenon. And you know, my life legit changed after that. So it was cool.
Awesome. Well, you're good people, so you deserve it, you know?
I agree with you. You have great taste.
Thank you. I also think you're probably the most quotable person from the movie as well. So
I agree with you again. You're so smart.
Oh,
Look at that.
yes. So what quotes like do you get thrown at you like on a daily basis?
Oh God, come on, you guys know them. Everybody raise your hand and say a quote one at a time.
Yeah, right? I like the Danny DeVito, I love your work. That's my favorite. That's personally.
And I Want My Pink Shirt Back is probably my favorite one because I made that one up. Like, so that
You
was like,
did?
Yeah.
Did you get royalties for that? Oh
No,
my God, they better
no.
pay for that one.
Yeah,
Somebody
right.
legit like raise their hand. Do you have another quote? Oh, okay.
Is that one? Oh, good for you. I've had shirts like that in the past. Right now I have 2 Rainbow to Function, if you come to my table. Or I have my Yes, You're Amazing tour shirt, which is limited edition, and on the back it says, this t-shirt's amazing.
And I saw you have like your hoodie, like the...
Yeah, I bring the blue hoodie with me to conventions, and then people can put the blue hoodie and glasses on and take selfies with me. It's super fun.
I like your branding. Very
Yeah,
smart.
it's like Instagram gold. I know what I'm doing. I'm hooking the kids up.
And of course, Glen Coco.
Yes, Glen Coco. Actually, my fan base is the House of Glen Coco. I'm the legendary father of the House of Glen Coco. And I say if, you know, a lot of queer people or just, you know, weird people in general, which are my people, often don't feel like they belong. And so you belong in the House of Glen Coco, you know? Like James St. James says in Party Monster, if you have a hunchback, just throw a little glitter on it, honey, and come dancing.
That's like my favorite part of that movie too. I love that movie so much. Yeah, very cool. Okay, so do you want to maybe like take some questions from the audience, or else I'm just gonna talk your ear off?
I don't care.
all
I'll talk
night?
about whatever. I'm here for you. So whatever you guys want to know.
Any
Okay, give me
questions?
some deep cuts.
So I'm just wondering your Miami connection.
I am, when I was 7, I moved to South Florida. I moved to Sunrise, and I went to Banyan Elementary, Bear Middle, and Piper High School. And then I went to Florida School of the Arts in Palatka, Florida, up in North Florida, kind of near Gainesville and St. Augustine. And then after that, I went to New York City, and I'm like, I'm gonna make it in musical theater. And I was in New York City for like a week, and I booked 2 musicals at the Broward Stage Door Theater.
That's awesome.
And it was so amazing. I got to come back to, I was like, if I screw up, I'll just land on my mom's couch. Like, so in New York, I booked 2 musicals back in Fort Lauderdale. And then I was like, I'm gonna, you know, not that I didn't like Fort Lauderdale, but you know, everyone wants to leave their hometown, you know.
Michael
and I was
Washington.
low-key like a musical theater guy, so I was like, there's gotta be something better than this. Like I was like trying to figure out like, you know, so like, gotta get out, you know, like. And I auditioned for the tour of Tony and Tina's Wedding, which I booked, and at the first national tour, and the first 3 months were at Broward Center of Performing Arts. It was like I couldn't get out, and then I was like, then I got fired from Tony and Tina's Wedding, not because I did anything bad, but because I was non-union, and I was like, I wanted union rights, and they were like, well, then you need to be union, and I was like, all right, then I'm gonna be union, and then it just didn't work out. But then I booked my first movie, which was Bully, that filmed here in South Florida. So I have a huge South
You
Florida
can't get
connection.
away.
And now, you know, talking about, you know, I did this thing called guerrilla gardening, where like you, in the middle of the night, go to a place that's been forgotten by the city and like you do gardening. And one of the commandments of guerrilla gardening is like start in your own neighborhood. So I started really thinking, my whole family lives here in Fort Lauderdale, all my roots here in Fort Lauderdale, all of the children of my friends and my family are all growing up here in Florida. And one day I want to buy here myself and be a part of Florida. So why don't I start doing some community activism here in Florida? So I've been, my character on HBO's Looking was HIV positive. I became an ambassador for Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation, and every year I go to Washington and speak to our congresspeople about the rights of people who have HIV and AIDS. Even though I myself am negative, I've heard too many stories and I know too much about where we are in today's age of prevention and treatment not to speak upon it. And since Florida needs help the most, and I have the connection here, instead of me going and visiting, being a constituent of my home state of California, which is already pretty progressive, and I do help out there regularly, I go and speak to the congressman people in your neighborhood, so here in Florida. So I'm here fighting for the rights of kids for comprehensive sexual education and HIV treatment and prevention on behalf of this state. So I have a huge Florida connection, and I'm very excited about performing and heading the Pride Comedy Festival here on the 18th because it's my first stand-up show here in my hometown, so it's exciting.
Very cool. What would be your dream Broadway role or dream musical role?
No, just kidding. It's being dramatic. Tevye would be good. I think that my dream would be Pseudolus and Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum.
Really?
I think I would kill that.
Old school, I like that.
Yeah, I would like knock that out of the ballpark. I'm actually attached to a Broadway musical right now called Found by Hunter Bell, who wrote Title of Show. So that would be really exciting to one day get to do that if it makes it that far up the ladder, but we'll see.
Here's hoping.
Yeah, right? Musicals don't die, they just get put on somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
Who else had a question?
Mean Girls is on Broadway, right?
Mean Girls is on Broadway, yeah. They didn't want any of the original cast in it, but I saw it, and it's fabulous. It was very weird at first. I low-key would have been okay if it sucked, but it was good. It was actually really good. It was really weird, like the first 3 songs of the musical, I was like, this isn't how it happens, like, you know what I mean? And then like, by the 4th song, I was like, I want to see what happens. Like, and so it's a newer, more modern version of Mean Girls where all of the talking head stuff where they're like talking directly to the camera ends up becoming social media. And you go deeper into Damien's life. I think the Damien that I created was a guy who probably hadn't even been kissed yet and was just like learning about himself. And the Damien in this movie, you know, had affairs in summer stock. And like, it's like a little more of like what a gay teen might be like today as opposed to what it was like in 2004, which was different.
Very cool. Did you see it? Because you look like
Yes, I just saw it 2 weeks ago.
Did you like it?
Yes, and I met the cast, and they were
Wasn't he so great, the guy that played Damien?
Yes.
As good as me? Answered wisely. That's what I thought.
Who else has a question?
Yeah.
When you went out for the role in Mean Girls, did they see you from Bully, or did you have to go on a completely different like audition?
Elgin came in late. That's okay.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah.
Someone asked that already?
Sort of, but I will tell you that it's very few movies that I've got. Like, if I get an offer, it's few movies. I usually still have to jump through hoops. We live in a very different age right now, where offers aren't really like that prominent anymore. Now you still have to kind of go through all of the same rigmarole, which is really annoying, because they're just like, let's see. You know, there's like a lot more actors that want jobs now. Everyone wants to be famous now that everyone can be famous, if you know what I mean. It's a little bit of a different pool of people than it was maybe like, let's say in the 80s or 90s. So like now it's like, I'm still auditioning for most things. Yeah.
How did you end up with the role in Bully? And can you tell us a little bit about Bully?
Bully is a very South Florida movie. If you don't know about it, Larry Clark, who directed the movie Kids, he's also a very famous and prolific photographer who shot some really raw images of his friends and himself as teens on heroin in these 2 books, Tulsa and Teenage Lust, which made him famous. And Kids, his first feature, is a harrowing tale that is this HIV storyline about kids in New York City. And Bully was his follow-up feature. It starred the late Brad Renfro. And it was about a true story about 6 South Florida teens who murder this teen that bullies them. They take him out to Weston, and they when they were building Weston, and they murder him there for bullying him. And that really happened in Pembroke Pines. It'd been national news, but it was the same exact like week and month as OJ.
Oh my God.
So OJ was like saturating our news, and so it was very big here in South Florida. I remember when it happened. I remember hearing the stories about it. But they, I'll get it.
Dad.
No. Dad, you're embarrassing us.
Dad.
I turned it off.
Apparently not very well. We're deep in a tale.
But Bully is a really good movie. A lot of the lines are ripped directly from the transcripts of their interviews and what they told the police about how it went down. And the real judge, the real bailiff, and the real detective that handled the case all played themselves in the movie, and we shot in all the real locations. It's super intense. It's one of those movies that you watch and you think you're so good, but you feel a little icky afterwards. And so that was my first feature. I got an opportunity. They were scouting locations for the movie, And I was in A Tree Grows in Brooklyn with you
Really?
at the Royal Palm Dinner Theater.
Yes.
And Terry, do you remember Terry who played the policeman?
Yes.
So Terry, who played the policeman in our production's partner, was a drag queen, is a drag queen. Terry passed, but the drag queen Electra was a very big and still is a very famous, legendary Miami drag queen. So I hadn't come out of the closet yet. And they were like, "You've never been to a gay club? Like, we're gonna take you." And they're like, "It's opening night!" Like, it was just like they took me right to the front of the limelight of all of that. And so there used to be a club here that was killed by Hurricane Andrew, called the Copa, which was like a gay club that like Madonna had performed at, and like Divine and all these famous legendary people. And Electra used to run a talent show there every weekend, and the talent show was like half-assed because it wasn't like they announced, "Hey, come to the talent show." It was like Electra's show, and at the end of the show she'd be like, "Who has a talent?" It wasn't like people prepared numbers, but I knew it was happening, so I used to prepare numbers. And I often would win because people would get up there and like, you know, whatever they would do for a talent, like juggle or like show their butt, and like I would just like, and I would like sing a song and like, you know, potentially win $100. So one night I went out to the talent show to perform. I didn't win. I came in second, which was $25 in a bar tab, and I got kind of drunk. And
How old were you? You were young at this time.
22.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then like I performed a Mary J. Blige song, I think. And they were scouting locations. And you know, being from here, how do you, a round of applause, who's from here? So you know when you see people from out of town and you're like, "You're not from Florida. Like, what are you doing?" You know what I'm saying? So picture 7 of like the most it kids from Hollywood and a casting director who is just as beautiful as them, like all walking into like a South Florida club, and you're like, "Where'd you get those clothes? Like, what do you know? Like, your haircut looks cool, and I've never seen that on anyone." Like that kind of thing. And so I was like, "What's going on?" And someone was like, "Oh, they're making a movie." And I was like, "Well, whatever movie they're making here, I don't want to be in it," you know, like. But then it turned out that I had known the story and I had heard what they were talking about. So I kept they kept going up to people for extras. And I kept putting myself in vision of the casting director, and she finally walked up to me and was like, "Would you like to audition for this movie?" And I was like, "Yes, I would." And she was like, there's a longer story to it that I've told many other times. You could find on a podcast or something. But long story short, I got called into this audition, and in the audition, she handed me a picture of the character I was playing, and he looked exactly like me. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get this movie, I think." And so I had a week to like work on. I met Larry Clark, the director, at the Copa that night, and they were like, "Do you know who Larry Clark is?" I'm like, "No." They're like, "Well, have you ever seen Kids?" I'm like, and Kids, I'd seen Kids like 12 times in the theater. So I was like, "Yeah," like, and I've never seen a movie that many times in the theater. Maybe it was destiny, I don't know. But I got to be introduced to him, and I started doing exactly what you don't do, which most of you will probably do to me today, is just like fangirl and like run lines, you know, like.
You love it.
I totally fangirl. I do love it, because I understand, because, you know, I did it. And so, he didn't like me though. He didn't get it, and he was just like, "Get that guy away from me." But the casting director saw something in me, and she was like, "Larry hates you, but I think you're right for this." She's like, "But I think you're right for this, and you have 1 week, like, become this character." So I called the real detective that handled the case, and I went down to, we didn't have the internet really too much, so I went down to like the library and looked up the microfiche, and like, you know, I like remember that, and so I did all that stuff, and then I went into the audition room and I slayed it, and right in the room he was like, "You have the part," and I'm like, "Oh, this is where it's all beginning," you know. And Larry Clark was really popular and hip and cool, and so being in his movie, it was kind of like me being like a Stranger Things kid or whatever. Like, I immediately was welcomed to New York with open arms by like all the cool kids, and I was never cool before that. And that's
I think
why
you were always cool.
No, I wasn't cool. Not in that sense. I mean,
Okay.
you know, not in like a popular sense. But I got cool when I got to New York City, and so it was kind of like, this is it. This is what I've been waiting for. So that movie is very important to me, and it has my South Florida roots. And oddly enough, I worked at the Gateway Theater over here in Fort Lauderdale selling popcorn, and then Bully premiered at the Gateway Theater. So, and I got fired from there, so I was like, "Excuse me, I'm here for my Deco Drive interview." And everybody was like, "Oh!" It was like that Pretty Woman. I was like, "Big mistake."
And Gateway's still here too.
And Gateway's still here, and I still go.
Yeah.
Every time I come back to Florida, I try to at least see one movie there, because it's one of my favorite places in South Florida. So.
I think they did Rocky Horror there for a while too.
Yeah,
didn't
they did, totally.
I think they're still doing it there.
Hey, keeping it funky.
Okay, so kind of like just sidetrack a little bit. When I was doing some research for this, Danny, I saw that you're like really good at dog impressions, and I was wondering if we could get a couple dog impressions from you.
What kind of dog do you
Corgis.
We're hearing corgis.
are? I don't really know how corgis are.
Chihuahua?
A chihuahua, yeah, I can do a chihuahua.
That's good. Okay. Any other Doberman?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
I'll get it.
Oh my god. Danny.
It's really great when somebody's just coming around a hallway and I'm like,
Can you do like a pit bull? Can you do like a bigger dog? My favorite thing about this is you completely change the way that your body positions in order. You're like, I have to act this
all of a
dog.
sudden it just starts like morph.
How about a Saint Bernard?
Sorry, lady, show's over.
That was a good impression of the Saint Bernard. That was great. A talking Saint Bernard. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah.
Oh, so I came in a couple minutes late, so I'm not sure if you answered it.
Well, I did.
Okay.
Next one. No,
Alright, okay.
no go.
Who is someone you drew a lot of inspiration from, like who got you into acting in general, like if there was a person?
I was really like, my family's a very teasing family. Like, we tease each other, and a lot of times when I was a kid, my parents had me very young. I remember my parents in their 20s, So it's kind of like, I remember when I was a kid, if like me and my brother were in a fight, whoever was funnier was the side like my dad would take. I'd be like, Dad, he said this, he called me a missile titty, and then my dad would be like, like whatever it was.
Can we use that? I like that. Missile titty.
Yeah, it's all yours.
Thanks.
I've already spent a bunch of therapy dropping it somewhere. No, I'm just kidding. No, but like whatever it was that was funnier, that's kind of how we made it. And then whatever made my family laugh was always like a thing. I could get out of a lot of trouble by making people laugh. So, and the same thing. I always felt a lot of the toxic masculinity, like weird social constructs in school and stuff like that. So I felt like it was a diffuser, if I could be funnier, someone would be like, are you gay? And I'd be like, why are you looking? Like people would like crack up and then I'd be able to get away with it, and survive another day of middle school. So I think that was a big inspiration for me. But specific people, I loved a lot of the old greats because that's what my parents taught me. So it was like Jackie Gleason and Sid Caesar and Phil Silvers and Lucille Ball and a lot of like OG golden age era of like comedy, Milton Berle. And all of that gang. So that was like what I grew up on, and what made me laugh the most. So,
Very cool.
yeah.
I think we had another question. Yeah.
So, total different subject of what we're talking about, but you're partnering up with Ashley Nell Tipton for the winner from Project Runway. What are you doing?
Wow, you're like hot and fresh on the Danny Franzese news. That's like.
I love her too.
I just met with Ashley like a few days ago, and we just beginning the conversation. But we definitely want to work on a men's line together. So that's like something that we are looking forward to doing. I had a clothing line last year, and I parted ways with them. I like to make clothing for above average sized gentlemen because I feel like it's a market that is not explored, and we don't have a lot of options. So as somebody who I've had clothes made for me, since I'm like 16 for different movies and projects, everything from like, I was in Damn Yankees and I needed to have like a baseball suit that could stretch when I dance, or something like a $5,000 suit on Conviction. I've had all kinds of things constructed for my body, and I have a unique body, and I've thought a lot about the issues and problems that plague people of different shapes and not only sizes. And so that's something that Ashley's really passionate about. And the trajectory of her career, she's always said she wanted to do a women's line, a men's line, and a baby's line. And so she had done the women's line with JCPenney, and it's successful, and she's still thriving with her own private line. So I was like, hey, I need some help. I don't actually make clothes, but I have a lot of things in my head and like a lot of dream garments and a lot of inspiration. And I was a creative director of a clothing line, and so we met and we clicked. And I'm pretty sure, who knows, you might see some of our stuff in like Nordy's or something one day. But we're working on it, and we're actively trying to do it at least to get it done the next year or so. And I believe in all clothing being unisex. Even when I had a menswear line, I was like, it's a clothing for people who wear menswear, not necessarily like men's clothing. Menswear is a style of clothing, and I believe that creating different kinds of access and shapes and things that cinch and change. A lot of different people will be able to wear the stuff that we create.
What color's her hair now?
Pink.
She's so cool. Can you maybe teach us something in sign language?
That's funny. You really like, yeah.
I'm sorry. This is my job.
Some of my favorite signs are as follows. Is dancing. I like dancing. Sea turtle, which by the way, don't use straws. Wait, is that right? Yeah. I think you can kind of tell it looks like a sea turtle, right? Oh no, it's this way, my bad. Right, isn't that cute? Oh, turtle's really good.
Turtle.
That's just regular turtle, right? You make like a little tail with your thumb, and then make the head pop out. Isn't that so mad cute? Wait, this is another mad cute one. Are you ready? Inchworm. Like who doesn't? I wish I had more reasons to talk about an inchworm with a deaf person.
You just bring it up.
Or hard of hearing
Like,
person.
have you seen that intro?
Jesus. Like that one's kind of obvious, right? And the rest of them are dirty. No, I'm just kidding. No, we've done that for now.
I took sign language for 2 years, and the only thing I can remember is like, I want to go to McDonald's.
Please teach me that.
That's all I know.
I believe in Biggie fries.
Okay, so you said Biggie. So another one of your impressions.
Oh, my Biggie? I could do it. I have a
Smalls.
mic.
Okay.
You guys like Biggie? Yes. Well, my jam is Juicy. Right? Because Juicy, like, I don't know, I can play it when I'm sad, I can play it when I'm happy. And I need a mic for that. You're like dying. My best friend Sharon's like dying. But this is my Biggie impression. Okay.
This album is dedicated to all the people that told me I never amount to nothing. To all the people that lived above the buildings I was hustling for them to call the police on me when I was just trying to raise some money to feed my daughter. And all the people in the struggle, you know what I'm saying? It's all good, baby, baby. It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine with salt and pepper heavy tea up in the limousine, hanging pictures on my wall. Every Saturday you rap attack Mr. Magic Molly Mall. I let my tape rock till my tape pop, smoking weed and bamboo, sipping on private stock. Way back when I had a red and black lumberjack with the hat to match. Remember rapping to the hard, you never thought the hip hop would take it this far. But now I'm in the limelight cause I rhyme tight. Time to get paid, blow up like the World Trade. A poor sinner, the opposite of a winner. Remember when I used to eat sardines for dinner? Peace to Mark B, Brucey B, Geek Capri, Fuck Master Flex, Love Bug, Star Ski. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. Call the crib, same number, same hood, it's all good. And if you don't know, now you know Glen Coco.
So how's your Tupac?
East Coast is the best coast. No.
I like how somebody tried to come in during that, and they're like, "What panel is happening right now? Is this like?"
There's a Biggie panel? You told me about that Biggie panel.
Yeah, I'm
That's
like-
amazing.
I'm hyped now. That was great. That was really
you.
good.
Thank
You were
you.
multi-talented and a model.
Yeah. I honestly didn't even know what this panel was. It could have been like chubby guys that like French fries. Like I don't know, like, and it's
Oh
all
my
just
God,
me.
I love French fries. We all love French fries.
Thank
Hey,
you.
girl.
Thank you. Yes, I am a model. I just got signed my first modeling contract, which is so ridiculous because I'm chubby and 40. But guess what? I'm a model now, and right?
Dante, you
Which
said-
means you can do it too. Anybody can be a sexy body. And I just, I guess I realized with Damien and Mean Girls, I've had it was a big thing in my life because a lot of people came to me, especially around the 10th anniversary. I came out of the closet in 2014 because someone came up to me and was like, when I was in 8th grade, I was beat up for being chubby and I was beat up for being a sissy. And I had no identity and everybody didn't even know who I was. And then Mean Girls came out. And on my first day of my freshman year, the popular senior girls were like, "You're like Damien, come sit with us." And you drastically changed my high school career because I was so popular and I had an identity. At first it bothered me, people called me Damien, but then I embraced it and you gave me a social life. And I thought deep about how I needed that kind of visibility when I was 16 and I really didn't have a role model or somebody that could be big or be gay and not be made fun of either of those things and make it through a whole movie or anything. So I realized the impact of that, and it's really affected the decisions of the things that I do going forward. doing partial nudity and looking was a big deal to me because I was sexualizing a bigger male form in the queer community, which is something that we don't get to see. Like everything we get is served with a side of abs. And it was just nice to see that that could be that way. And I was being pursued by like one of the, my characters being pursued by one of the three main leads. And he had HIV and he was gonna stay healthy. And he wasn't loved in spite of it, he was loved because of it. And I just think that playing people that are underrepresented, there's a really big impact when you see yourself represented on screen. And round of applause, anybody here a creator of any sort? No? I have a lot of creators like in my audience, okay? As a creator, a lot of the times I suggest that if you don't see yourself represented anywhere in art or media, create something that represents yourself in art and media. And as a consumer, you guys that are here that are fans and love this stuff, when you see yourself represented in something, tweet the artists, tweet the studios and say thank you for showing me or showing something that reminded me of you, because those tweets matter. Like, your support matters. It drives the whole thing. Shows with really low ratings, they'll keep if a lot of people are tweeting about them constantly and live tweeting them and stuff. So that's why I'm here, because I love the fans and I think it's very important. But it's very impactful for people to be able to see themselves be visible. I mean, that's the feedback that, I just read Scarlett Johansson just dropped out of that movie she was getting for playing a trans man, right? So it's like, these kind of things, like, it matters because people want to see themselves represented on screen. So I think that there's a big driving force in what I do. And it's what makes me say, you know what, I am on tour doing stand-up, my primary focus is acting, but I could take the time into my schedule to figure out a way to do some modeling gigs, to just have I want to see a big guy in a toothpaste commercial, and if I can't do that, I'll just fight my way until I'm in a Colgate commercial. It's like, I just want to keep making myself visible, because every time I'm visible, it's another bearded guy, it's another big guy, it's another queer guy, it's another Italian guy, it's all the different unique things that uniquely make up who I am. That other people can find a little bit of themselves in. And I'm not the only one, but maybe I think the real plus size guy modeling star is maybe not even born yet. Maybe it takes a guy like me to sort of open up a few doors and make that be like the normal thing, so the real star can like come forward and we could one day get our Thicky Martin out there.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. Okay, so I'm obsessed with RuPaul's Drag Race, and I was.
Me too.
I was watching, and I hope he's not mad at me for mentioning this. I was watching this with my fiance, and he's like, "That's your friend, that's Danny," in the audience, right? So my question is, who did you want to win this season, and are you happy with Aquaria?
Yes.
Yes, I'm happy with Aquaria, because Aquaria is legendary. She is definitely somebody who has proven herself and has a lot of gifts, and is also really young and can take it really far. I was Team Eureka, because I felt like Eureka had overcome a lot of her things and had managed to still turn it out every time. I did think her taste level was sometimes questionable, but I think I appreciate that sometimes in people when they go bigger than you expect them to go. I'm a huge Drag Race fan. I haven't judged yet. I've been asked a few times, but I haven't. I've had scheduling conflicts. I think I was even asked to direct one of the final music videos, which I was like really mad that I couldn't do. Like Sissy That Walk or something.
Oh my God.
I know it would have been so great if I directed that, right? But I didn't. So it'll happen, maybe next season, maybe the season after. But I love Rue, and Rue taught me a way that I could tell everyone how to pronounce my last name.
Let's hear it.
So my last name's Franzese, and Rue was like, "I'm American, and I can't say that." And I was like, she was like, "How do you say it?" And I didn't know how to describe it to her, and I was like, "It's Franz," So she goes, "Franz AC." She goes, "Oh, I get it. It's kind of like I don't have my own air conditioner. I have to use my friend's AC." And I was like, "Yes, that's exactly right."
Franzese.
Yeah.
Franzese?
Yeah, like my friend's AC.
Oh, that's so cool.
I know.
Thanks,
It
Rue.
saved my life
Rue.
because now I tell that to every host of every comedy show, and I never got my name mispronounced anymore. So,
Very smart.
thanks, Mama Rue.
What is your relationship like with RuPaul?
It's like it's like a friendship, because it's like, I'm a huge Rue fan. When I first met Rue, I was young, and I was in New York City, and I met her at Patricia Field's store, who was the designer of Sex and the City, and Rue was there shopping, and I was like, ah! It was like pre-Drag Race. And then Rue came out to LA, and World of Wonder, which is run by Randy Barbato and Fenton Bailey. Randy and Fenton directed Party Monster, so they were kind of like my Hollywood family. So when I got out to LA, they like embraced me, and I ended up becoming a resident curator at their gallery, and I've done a bunch of voiceover work for them, and I'm the announcer on RuPaul's game show, Gay for Play, and I was a guest on that, and I've done like a whole bunch of different, anytime they have some kind of silly project, me and my mom have a web series on WOW TV, like I did like their, Homies for Cash, and like all these like funny things that they do. I'm always on their short list for projects. So Rue has an office in World of Wonder, and I'm always in there, and then I got to kind of get to know Rue. And I've been in the audience for like the wet t-shirt contest or the comedy competition or whatever on RuPaul's Drag Race probably like 8 times, or like even when I was like in the closet, which is weird because you'll see me like, if you're like, I'm like there, but then like, through the years, I've just always been a part of what they were doing. And so I love being around them. And now I've worked with a bunch of the queens. I did Willem, Alaska, and Courtney X. I played Santa in their Santa Bring Me a Man video. And I was in Pearl's music video. And me and Ginger Minge want to do a live Roseanne.
Ginger, yeah, she's funny too.
I'm trying to think of who else I've worked with, but there's just a ton of them that I'm friends with. Jaden Dior Fierce and I did a Tadra Call video together. I've just worked with all of them, and I've been to every single drag con too. So, I wrote a musical called Jersey Shore's a frickin' rock opera, and before Drag Race, Willem played JWoww. And then Willem's understudy was Derek Barry. And it's just so weird how all of that was all before they were on Drag Race. But it's all through World of Wonder and how I know them all. And World of Wonder is just a great magnet for interesting LGBTQ plus IA, whatever, like across the rainbow people. So it's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we have about 5 minutes left. So do you want to see any final thoughts, any final questions? Now's your chance, guys.
Yes.
I just want to tell you I love you.
I love you back. Oh, that's so cute.
So much love. Any other final questions? You said you wanted to spill the tea, so let's.
Can we take photos, like, before you?
I have to go back to the table, and I'm doing like photo ops at the table, and there's also stickers and pictures and buttons and everything else. So come visit me at my table. I would love to.
You got the blue hoodie there?
What's that?
The blue hoodie?
Yes.
I have the blue hoodie, yeah. And you can put the blue hoodie on and take classes. We're doing like with the selfies. We do like one with and one without. What's that? I don't, but it's like in the 100 block. Yeah, like over like all the way there.
How about your home address? No.
You were on Shane Dawson's podcast, right? Like
Yes.
A while ago?
Right.
Was it, like, is he fun?
Yeah, he's fun, and Jessie Buttafuoco is one of my best friends.
Yeah.
Like, we're really, really close. She actually replaced Willem and Derek Barry as JWoww.
Was she in that musical?
Yeah, she was.
She talked about it.
Yeah, she's a really good friend. We've been on vacations together, and she's always there for me. She's great.
She's always tapping.
She's sassy.
All right, my mom has one final question,
But
guys.
I'll get to you.
Then we'll get to you. I got you.
Yep. No, you.
Fight it out. Go ahead.
All right. No, I thought earlier, did you say you improvised the line for a Woman Pink Shirt?
Yeah.
Did you improvise any other lines in it? Or?
Not in that movie, no. And don't look at me when I'm. It's actually on Christina Aguilera's track. I didn't really know the song. The song just came out like when we were filming, so I was like, I don't really know it, and they gave me like a copy. And in the beginning, it goes, "Don't look at me," and I'm like, "Oh my god!" I was like, Tina, can I say that? And like, you don't look at me, and she was like, "Yeah." I don't even think she knew it was part of the actual song. Yeah, go ahead. What?
The scene where you guys are watching the movie and like you just scream your lungs out. Was that genuine or was that just acting?
Just acting.
Oh.
I hate to break it to you. I wasn't actually scared when they said action.
And you're a dang good actor. There you go. All right.
Wait, one more?
Could you please sing like 30 seconds of Beautiful for me?
Yeah, if you come over here and sit next to me. Yeah.
Come on down. What's your name? Amanda.
Hi, Amanda. Everybody give Amanda a round of applause. Amanda's friend, please videotape this for her. Or you're canceled. Every day is so wonderful, and suddenly it's hard to breathe. Nobody throws a shoe at me or you're out of here. Now and then I get insecure from all the pain. I'm so ashamed. I am beautiful, no matter what they say. Yes, words can bring us down. So don't you bring me down today. Give a round of applause for Amanda. Amanda, come to my booth and I got a prize for you.
All right, any final ones before we go to Monday?
You say she doesn't even go here?
You don't even go here.
Someone over there.
No.
Go to his booth after.
Watch the movie.
All right, final question, and then we gotta wrap this up.
It isn't really a question, it's just a statement that I met you as you were beginning your career, really, and I'm so proud of what you've accomplished. You've done so many things, helped a lot of people along the way, and this is like one of the most compelling panels I've ever seen. I mean,
Oh.
you can talk.
And she comes to all of them, so yeah.
You got a mouth on this one.
You're top notch.
Yes, you're
Thank you.
amazing.
Thank you. I'm positively top drawer, according to Kid Cadet's mama.
Any final thoughts?
No, just please follow me at What's Up Danny, you guys. Like, stay a part of the adventure. I can't follow everybody back, but believe me, if you're liking and commenting on my stuff, I'm checking out your page and I'm giving you some hearts, and I appreciate the support, and I want to keep in touch. So holla at your boy.